This has been the single most requested video for me to make. So I promise you this video is going to be an absolute banger. It's all about how I find backlink opportunities in 2026, the exact processes that our team runs to get the best links possible for our clients. This video is going to be actionable. You're going to have takeaways that you can instantly implement into your team, into your processes. So bear with me. I hope you enjoy. Most SaaS companies I speak to think about building links in a very specific way. Problem is they usually always have a very similar backlink prospecting list. The same tools, the same top sites in your niche, the same 50 domains that everybody else in your category is already emailing. These people feel spammed to death. And then they wonder why no one is replying to their outreach emails. In this video, I'm going to show you one of our actual prospecting workflows live that you can copy and take away for yourself. This is a modern process, a process in 2026. I'm giving away all the source in this one. It's a process using Claude and DataForSEO. This isn't something that you could have done a couple of years ago. It's very new, very modern, and this is the way I would personally approach building links for your SaaS company right now. I'm going to explain the nuances of these types of links versus another type of links. And more importantly, I'll show you that second list too. That's the list that not many people actually build, but it's where we get most of our links from. The biggest mistake in link building isn't bad outreach. It's prospecting for placements you are never going to get and wasting a lot of time and resources. All of that while ignoring the opportunities that are already sitting in your inbox. Here's the mental model, and this is what I want you to take from the video, even if you skip and discard everything else. Prospecting runs in two lanes. Lane one is the wish list. In other words, the sites that are already ranking for your keywords, the most relevant semantic places where you can possibly get a link. They're dream placements, hard to get, but worth pursuing slowly. And in this video, I'm going to show you the breakdown of how to get these dream backlinks. But there's a second lane to it. Lane two. This is what I call the engine. This runs on partnerships, exchanges, inbound link requests. It's less glamorous, but it's far more productive. Most people spend 100% of their time in lane one chasing the wish list. It seems glamorous, but it ends up resulting in a lot of time spent and not enough links acquired, all while your competitors are building more links. This workflow runs both. And when we get to lane two, I'll show you exactly why most people miss these opportunities and how you don't have to miss these opportunities. So when you see them, you can take advantage. It's a relevance mistake that so many SaaS companies are making. And it sounds smart when you make it, but the reality is it's quietly capping your authority while your competitors are building it around you. I'll get there. Lane one, the wish list, starts with one simple question. Who does Google already trust around my keywords? Not big sites in my niche, but the sites that are actually ranking for the searches that your buyers are making. And rather than just describe it, I recorded the whole workflow. I'm going to pull it up, type the prompts in live, and walk you through exactly what happens. 4 prompts and a couple of follow-ups, start to finish. Enjoy.
Hey, so for this example, what we're going to do, we're going to show the live process of what you can do with Claude and DataForSEO or Ahrefs. The reason I chose DataForSEO, I think it's more accessible for people on a lower budget, but you can easily do this with Ahrefs as well. Essentially what you need is this API connection, MCP, and I'm just going to show you how to actually prompt it to find opportunities. So for this example, we're taking a SaaS product and we're going to choose like a time tracking software. And essentially these are the sorts of keywords we want to rank for. Best time tracking software for agencies, time tracking software with invoicing, billable hours tracking. What we can actually do in real time is to replace these with keywords that are relevant for you, but essentially you want it to read something like this. So I'm now going to run this prompt and we'll see what we get. Okay, so Claude's been communicating with the API and now we've scraped the 4 different SERPs via the endpoints in DataForSEO. And we've got a list of domains, and these are the domains that are really relevant and rank for the queries that we've looked for. So 4 different queries, and you could do this across much more queries, and we get a bit of an overlap of who ranks and where. And as often we do see, Reddit's ranking really well, but here we get another list of the in many cases the direct competitors, but also the opportunities where there might be a relevant ranking article in the SERPs. So we've got 27 unique domains here. I think for this example it's fine. Obviously there's a few that aren't going to be as relevant. YouTube again just shows why the search is now going across multiple platforms and we don't rely so much on just Google anymore. Same with the Reddit. And of course there's some here that you'll look at and think, well, you're not going to get a link here. Like an app store listing, you'd have to have an app, of course. Some much larger companies like FreshBooks Zoho might be very difficult to negotiate a link with. Forbes, again, very unrealistic in many cases. So what I would actually suggest doing here is to maybe run the prompt to expand the list. Just something like this, and we'll be able to catch more unique domains now. Okay, so Claude's now come back and found some more. And again, a lot more options here. Some that are pretty achievable and others that are more difficult again. Again, G2 is interesting. This is on the Learn subdomain, but in general, seeing these review platforms, they are big AIO sources, AI optimization sources. And of course, some are going to be more difficult. They're found very regularly, like in Zapier, Rise, etc. In real cases, we'll probably have even more companies than this. So we've got even deeper, and we found Spot SaaS, Costbench. Essentially, we're finding a lot of relevant SaaS sites here that are publishing content that's related to the search. And one thing that is also interesting is by default for this search, we're going to be looking using DataForSEO in the US SERPs. But if you're working in a certain country or targeting a specific market, just say that, and like you could put in the UK or in Germany or in India or whatever that might be, in Australia. So what we want to do now, and this is even more of a big thing when we have a larger list, we can ask it to filter the list, and it's not going to do this as well as a human, but the more it learns from you, the more feedback you give it, the better the output's going to be. So we're going to ask it to filter the list, drop direct competitors because it's pretty unrealistic to get links there, and the giants as well, because although the links from the likes of Zapier would be really nice, they're going to be pretty hard to get. So now we've asked it to filter, and it's removed the direct competitors who it thinks are very unlikely to link. The giants, again, like Forbes, Monday.com, Zoho, Zapier. UGC platforms, like these are obviously where you want to be doing more GEO efforts in general, but it's not going to be relevant for building backlinks or brand mentions. And we get down to real prospects. So we've got the likes of Teamwork's blog, Time Rewards, People Managing People, and we start to get a real understanding of what's a good semantic fit. So it's even started to find the drafted insertions, and I'm going to explain this more. But yep, just take a look at that for now, and we see there's some good opportunities. Another quick prompt we can use is using the AI optimization API and LLM mentions skills within DataForSEO, and this is going to show us which domains are actually being cited by ChatGPT, so that can give us even more data that might be interesting to use. Well, so again, it shows why Reddit's such a big play at the moment, and Reddit's a difficult platform, but it's why it's hard to crack and hard to build that sort of legitimate brand presence on without taking more shady methods. But Wikipedia as well, I know some agencies are offering Wikipedia insertion services. Personally, haven't really explored that, but it's interesting. And you can see actually like Clockify, Jibble, and Toggle, as well as GetHarvest, T-Metric, and Time Doctor are big names in the space, and they're actually being cited by ChatGPT a lot. So it shows that it's actually a big part of what you do in GEO is the on-page efforts. So all of these have done a really good job to optimize their own websites, and that's why they're being retrieved and cited. And as it's saying, 200 answers, US ChatGPT platform. You could expand this to other LLMs, but I'm just making it quite simple for the purpose of the video. So now we've done this, we've started to find some interesting things, and these could be some really good opportunities, especially the first 5. Obviously, Reddit's a bit of a different play. And this is just obviously the original output. You want to check these yourself, but this is a good way to find a lot of backlink prospects at scale to build this sort of wish list that you're going after. So now we've found these, we want to consider what the best approach is. So now we get into the actual mechanics of the outreach, and what we're going to need to do here is actually make it very easy for the person who's receiving the email to be like, okay, yeah, maybe we can do that. So it's made the email for People Managing People, and it's found the specific listicle piece, and it's saying it's taking the relevancy. So this is why we want to propose the specific entry into the listicle, mentioning the new time tracking brand that we've built, maybe a key feature, how we want to be associated semantically, mentioning about the G2 reviews. This is all giving stuff for LLMs to cite in the future. So it's copy and paste ready, whatever. You could obviously decide exactly how you want to be represented. And again, it's made another one for Time Rewards. Where I've left in exchange offer. People value the backlink. People understand the value of the backlink. Time Rewards, People Managing People. They're not just going to link to your new SaaS product just because you ask nicely. So in exchange, you're going to have to be able to offer something. And this is usually going to be a link from either your own blog, an ABC exchange, and therefore a third-party blog, perhaps a podcast collaboration. There's many different assets, but you're going to need something to offer, and it could even be a direct payment if you think the link's valuable enough. So that was a quick breakdown of how we're going to build out a wish list, how we're going to use DataForSEO and Claude to scale this process, and hopefully that's given you something actionable you can take away.
So as you can see in this workflow, we're using DataForSEO's SERP API. We're using this API and running it through Claude. 4 buyer keywords in, 55 unique domains out, all in just a couple of minutes. The logic behind this wish list is that every domain that we pull here is already ranking for keywords that are in your semantic territory. A link from a page that is already ranking for your target keyword isn't just authority link, it's relevance that's already been certified. As you can see in the workflow, I'm deliberately cutting out certain competitors. Not only that, we're also filtering out giant companies where it's going to be very, very difficult to obtain a link from. UGC sites like Reddit and Quora, we're going to park them separately because they get a different playbook. Originally we had 55 domains, but after a bit of filtering we have 17. That ratio is normal. You want to ruthlessly filter all your opportunities. Scoring these domains gives you an ability to quickly determine where you're wasting your time and where the time should be better spent. As you can also see in the workflow, we're deliberately identifying citable passages in the text. These make excellent places for link insertions. The point of this is you're not just planting the links anymore, you're planting the entire sentences and passages of texts that machines can extract. As it's been explained by many top SEO experts in the field, what LLMs are looking to do is validate their reasoning journey. When they find articles that are relevant and say what the LLM expects it to hear, it believes this to now be a true verified fact. As such, a mention of your brand or a backlink here carries significant semantic value, and that context is directly passed in took by the LLM. Also, you'll see in this workflow that I've used DataForSEO's AI optimization API, as well as the LLM mentions API. This gives us a great insight into which domains and which articles are actually feeding the context that the LLMs are using when it's answering buyer queries in your niche. This can often reveal smaller sites with really relevant articles that might be willing to link to you, and these should be articles that you prioritize reaching out to. So what's so good about these links, and why do we call these a wish list? The reason for it is because these links carry a ton of relevance, not just raw authority. Everything on this wish list is either ranking in Google or getting cited in the LLMs for the searches that your buyers are actually making. So a link from one of these pages isn't just a generic vote, it's relevance that's Google's already verified. With these sorts of placements, you're not just building authority, you're actively borrowing a position inside the exact semantic territory where you need to be. One placement from a list like this is probably going to outweigh 5 different high DR links. Getting loads of links on random sites might increase your DR, but as we've already spoken in many videos, that's very much a vanity concept. These mentions and backlinks that you build inside this semantic territory are going to help your brand build consensus and help machines to understand who you are and what you're associated with. Here's the part that's changed in the AI era. When a model is deciding what to say about your brand, it doesn't simply take your word for it. Yes, it looks at your user documentation, it looks at all your pages, it looks on site. However, it wants to verify from third parties. I was watching a podcast the other day on LLM mastery with the founder of PKI, the AI visibility tracking tool. The founder raised some very good points about validating what you say about your brand has to be corroborated by other third parties. This is easy for a model to verify. For example, if you claim on your website to be enterprise grade, then it's imperative that the brand mentions and backlinks that you're getting from other websites also verify that you have enterprise grade features like single sign-on and multi-country setups. And SEO expert Steve Toft also puts it very bluntly. It's not enough to say your software is easy to use. Other people have to be saying it too. And that's why the placements that you earn from a workflow like this really serve a double purpose and why they're so effective. Yes, firstly, it is a link from a really relevant source, but secondly, it's a third-party witness that Google already trusts on the topic, backing up the claims that you make about yourself. And that's why it's so important when you insert links that they should be inserted in context and actually aligned with what you want to say about your brand and how you want to be represented. So the third concept of this is co-citation. Simply, when an article is naming you and your company alongside other companies in your category, your brand is sitting next to theirs in the context that the models are training from. Very similar to the rules of positioning in marketing. Simply, you want to appear similar to your competitors. Yes, you might think your product's really differentiated. You might have a lot of unique features that perhaps other companies don't. However, machines understand your category much better than they can understand you as an individual company. As such, the way you're cited and where you're cited and who you're cited alongside is so important. And that's why choosing your neighbors carefully and being co-cited, as Steve puts it, is so key. In other videos, I've been explaining the concept of the 2 doors when it comes to ranking in AI. Simply, Basically, there's two different ways that an AI model is going to talk about your brand. Firstly, via the training data. New models are always coming out, and when these models are retrained, they need to learn on new information on the internet. Therefore, when a model's been retrained, for example, it wants to learn about what CRM software is, it's reading lots of articles that are ranking for CRM related keywords. If you're already mentioned inside these articles, your brand is automatically being picked up in this training corpus, and it's feeding the new model and to be learned about. So that's why it's important to be mentioned in high ranking pages. The second door is real-time retrieval, and this is where AI might not have the answer in its training data. It's using query fan out, and it's looking for more specific niche information. In these cases, the LLM is going to find articles in real time that are ranking on the topic that the user's searching about. It's going to ingest these articles and take out chunks of text that are relevant, and therefore your brand may also surface this way. This is why these placements can be so important, because they pay you back in two different ways. That's the full case for building the wish list, but unfortunately it brings us to an uncomfortable part, and you might be wondering why I've been calling it the wish list, but now I'm going to explain that. The truth behind this beautiful list is that most of these sites are not going to reply to you, and the ones that do will want something back. It could be 2 links back in exchange, 3 links back in exchange, or a very high sum of money. In these cases, we've been quoted before $3,000 for a single link for one of our clients. That by itself is not a reason to skip the wish list, but it's a reason to treat it like what it is, a long game. What I'd recommend is you start connecting with their marketing teams, SEO people now on LinkedIn. Comment on their posts, work up to it, maybe start a conversation that isn't sales related or about link building in the DMs. But if having a wish list is your only lane for building backlinks, unless you've got very deep pockets, you'll most likely spend months doing this outreach and probably only end up with a handful of links to show for it. Just a quick side note, if you've enjoyed the workflow that I've been presenting in this video, then feel free to book a call with us in the description below. On that call, we're going to make for you a custom growth plan. All you need to do is submit some information about your business, about who you help, just give us some context, and we'll come to that call prepared with a personalized growth plan for you. In that growth plan, we're going to run all these keywords and queries directly for your industry, map out who your competitors are, and how you can start attacking your organic growth strategy to be better than it has been ever before. Now, the engine. And here's the relevance mistake that I promised you at the beginning of this video. Say you get offered a backlink from some business site, marketing site, some technology company, and you think to yourself, oh, well, that site's not really in my niche, and you just pass up on the opportunity. You may be making a big mistake, because although this sounds like discipline, it's actually a mistake that's significantly limiting your authority and allowing competitors to surpass you. Yes, a perfectly niche relevant link is the dream, but relevance lives on the page level too. A more generic business site might have a ton of articles published that are actually very relevant to your niche. Not only that, that site is also much less likely to find you to be a competitor. Therefore, it's going to be much more willing to link to you. Take the example that you have an ERP solution, and there's a site that publishes loads of different content on all things sales, marketing, martech, all of this, but it has a really relevant article about implementing ERP systems. That isn't a link you should turn down, because the relevancy is there at the article level. And not only that, the site might have a nice level of authority and existing traffic that actually allows this article to rank and be retrieved into AI answers anyway. Google and LLMs read the page. They don't just look at a domain in isolation and think, well, no, it's not exactly relevant to this company, so the link is worthless and it doesn't signal anything. It's still a very big signal of trust. And we take in this example of the business site that has the article about ERP. Of course, it makes sense that it should be linking to resources that are relevant to ERP systems. The chase of domain level perfection is the enemy, and it's going to really cap the authority that you're able to build. If you're sat there with your agency rejecting 80% of the workable opportunities, then you're significantly limiting yourself, because your competitors are likely not doing this and acquiring significant volume of backlinks each month, each quarter. And in the AI era, the volume of backlinks and brand mentions you acquire is actually more important than ever. There's a semantic SEO practitioner, Robert Nischel, who puts it perfectly. He said, your business doesn't end with .com. Essentially, in the context of link building, what this means is simply, when generative engines find the same claim about you in 10 different places, it will start to treat it as the truth. It could be 10, 20, 30, the more the better. Consensus isn't built easily, and you need to have more consensus than your competitors to outrank them. Every page relevant placement, every page relevant brand mention and backlink that you acquire, building towards consensus. And it brings us nicely back onto what we discussed earlier as well, that it's not enough for your business to just be saying it. You need to actively be having these mentions in third parties who are also corroborating it and making it to be seen as the truth. So with this in mind, what can you actually do? Well, this is why SaaS companies increasingly love ABC backlink exchanges. I'll pull up on screen now a real Slack group that is actively participating participating in link exchanges. As you can see in the screenshot, there's dozens of different SaaS domains that are actively trying to trade links with one another. There's different ways to swap links. It can be a direct exchange. You link to me, I'll link to you. Or what's more sophisticated, an ABC link exchange. This is more valuable because it's more scalable, and this way no one's linking to each other over and over. Instead, site A is linking to site B, and in return, site B is getting a link from site C. The ticket to being allowed to participate in these ABC link exchanges is to be willing to give backlinks from your own blog. What I'd recommend if you're going to involve yourself in this is to establish firm guidelines about who you're linked to and what type of pages you're linked to. Make sure you're not just linking to anyone and everyone, and don't add too many outbound links to one page. Only link where it's contextual and relevant, and this way you're actually protecting the integrity of your website. With that said, if you've got a website with a blog that has lots of relevant articles to other people and you cover lots of different topics, you're probably linking to a lot of different companies anyway. So if you're able to get backlinks in return for that to actually boost the authority of your own site and the visibility of your important pages, then it's really key. You probably receive a ton of link building collaboration requests in your inbox, and if you're like everyone else, you probably just delete all of these. Many times you're probably making the right decision. A lot of these people don't seem very trustworthy and they're spamming pretty basic templated emails. Some will be junk, but also a lot of these exchange requests are very legitimate and they're a way to build partnerships in the industry. There'll be a meaningful number of link collaboration requests that you receive where if you just quickly vet their site, you'll see that it's a real company and a real site with good rankings. These are people actively reaching out to you, and you can turn these into opportunities by responding and allowing them to add a link to a partner on your website, and in return you'll be able to get a link from the company. But make sure you use the workflow that I showed you earlier to make sure you find the most relevant opportunity possible, and this way you can quickly get a free link. If you are going to get involved in these ABC exchanges in Slack groups or directly via your emails, it's very important that you filter the sites to identify what is actually a quality opportunity and what is actually spam. In my view, there's a few key indicators that you should be looking for to establish whether a site is one that's worth getting a link from. Firstly, check that it's getting real organic traffic, but not only is it getting real organic traffic, check what keywords the website's actually ranking for. Is it ranking for keywords that are actually relevant to its niche? Secondly, look at a couple of their pages that could be relevant to you. Do a bit of a manual quality check of these pages. Are they in-depth pages? Are they interesting articles? Have they been written as genuine helpful content? Or are they very short articles that look like they've been spammed with outbound links? Another thing to look for would be sharp drop-offs in traffic. This can be really useful because it might signify a site was doing well and then it's all of a sudden lost what is perceived its credibility to be in Google's eyes, and it's seen a significant decline in traffic. Typically this will be coming following a core update, so you can sort of look at the graph and match up the dates and see if that makes sense. If a site is getting relevant traffic from relevant keywords to its niche, that is likely a good site that Google trusts, and therefore this could be a very good place to get a link, especially if they have an article where it makes sense for you to be spoke about in the right context. The big takeaway from this section in why I'm calling it the engine is because most companies grossly underestimate the number of backlinks they need to move the needle. And while it's true that the links from the wish list that I've spoke about in the first section are more useful, and them links are going to probably give double, triple the value of a regular link, it's still very important that you're actually getting the volume that's required to be competitive. If you don't believe me on this, simply run a test and build some of these backlinks just for a few months to one of your key pages. After building 10, 15, 20 links, I'm almost certain that you're going to see a significant uptick in the ranking positions and the traffic that that page is winning. We work with a client that has an email finding SaaS tool. In the last few months, we've built together a wish list of about 150 different domains. We've spent a lot of time crafting really good outreach messages to these companies, very personalized, and the responses have been pretty underwhelming. The reason for this is we're largely reaching out to a lot of competitors of the client, and as such, their competitors are not willing to link to the client. The companies that do reply are asking for very large sums of money or more than one backlink in exchange, oftentimes more than 2 or 3 links. But at the same time, we're also running the engine part of the operations, and while from the wish list we'd only managed to secure a couple of backlinks, from the engine over the last few months we're regularly securing 6 backlinks a month, each one of them in relevant articles, all of them articles that are actually ranking and getting traffic. And yes, while it's the wish list lane that produced the trophy couple of links, the reality is the engine is what's doing the hard work and what is allowing the rankings of the client to compound. In other words, it's the engine that's paying the bills, so this cannot be neglected with your link building strategy. So here's the entire workflow as a system that you can run, whether you're the founder doing this yourself, whether you're briefing a team, or whether you're briefing an agency. What I'd suggest is every couple of months, refresh the wish list. New SERP scrape, new scoring pass, new pulling of who's ranking in the LLMs. Rankings regularly move, new sites disappear, so it's important to keep a fresh list. With the AI setup that I showed you using DataForSEO and Claude, or you can do it with Claude and Ahrefs, you're going to get a lot of useful data of the sites that you really want to get links from. Ideally with this list, try and filter out people you deem to be very direct competitors and very giant companies who are unlikely to link to you. Sites that aren't your competitors but are linking to your competitors but not you are the ideal sites to target because they've already shown a willingness to link to resources that are similar to yours. Over time, you want to slowly nurture this wish list. Every couple of months you're updating the opportunities, but that means you can be contacting their marketing teams on LinkedIn like I suggested. Leave genuine comments on their content if they're publishing content and try and actually tap into what their brand's doing. This could also lead to co-marketing opportunities like podcasts, which could also be really useful, so it's never wasted to do this. Instead, I wouldn't necessarily have an SEO person doing this, but someone in like your wider marketing and partnerships team. But think of the wish list like a garden. You need to water it, you need to nurture it. You need to, over time, build these relationships, and this might lead to multiple links down the line. The engine, on the other hand, is more of the vending machine, and that's where you should be running the majority of your efforts. Every week, you should be working the engine, whether that's checking the exchange communities, responding to people who've sent you emails about link exchange collaborations. When you find domains that pass your vetting requirements through these potential partnerships, what you want to do is find relevant pages where it would make sense for them to link to you, and not only add the link, but the context in which you want to be talked about. Of course, if there's like a listicle spot or something and you can get linked there, that could be the biggest priority to pursue. In exchange for these links, you're going to have to be willing to link from your own blog, or if you have a second blog or a second business, that could also be used. The point of the engine is you want to have a lot of successful collaborations. What I'd recommend is internally you should have a list of priority pages you want to build backlinks to, the types of anchor texts that you want the backlinks to use, and also ways of describing your company so it's consistent semantically in the placements that you land. Don't just chase any random link, instead be very deliberate about the pages you choose and how you want to be mentioned, because this is the hard part, and this is the part that's going to pay off the most. The companies that win at this aren't the ones with the best outreach templates. That is nonsense from 2020. The companies that win are the ones that have realized prospecting is two distinct different games. A patience game and a nurturing game for the placements that everyone actually wants, and a volume game for the placements that everyone's ignoring. You can have quantity and quality this way. Run both of these, filter the same way, and your link profile is going to keep compounding, all while your competitors are waiting for HubSpot and Zapier to reply when they likely never will. If you want to see what happens after the prospecting, what an engagement looks like month by month, then we have a video for that that's on screen right now. In that video, I go into depth about when results show, what results you can expect, and how it contributes to your wider marketing efforts. And as I've said before, the link for the audit call is below. That call, I promise you, won't take more than 30 minutes of your time, and it's going to be very useful. You're going to walk away with an actual growth plan and a very genuine discussion on what your business goals are and how SEO efforts, GEO efforts can really expand what you can expect from organic growth. Okay, so thanks for bearing with me. I hope this video has been actionable and useful, and look forward to seeing you again in the next one. Cheers.